Alright, what's up guys? It's like midnight and I have court at 8 in the morning and I'm going to Texas tomorrow, but I've been really wanting to make this video for a while now. It's actually like the whole main reason I wanted to start the channel was my idea for this video, because I feel like it's probably the most interesting and informational and unique thing that I have, because when I was building this truck I was trying to find info on it and it was pretty scarce, so hopefully this will help somebody out there. But this is actually, so truck is a 1988 Mazda B2200, originally a 4-cylinder, all that good stuff, and it's not all that uncommon to see them with a small block Chevy swap. It's been done plenty of times, but the rare part about this truck, and which is what I had trouble finding info on, is this is so far the only one I know of with a t56 6-speed behind it. I think there might have been a couple people that done T5s, and I'm not sure. But everyone always does turbo 350s, so this thing has the 6-speed, which makes it kind of cool. So, try to give a basic rundown of everything. I built the whole thing, pretty much minus a couple of small fabrication things. Wiring's kind of a mess, but I'll try to go over everything that I can think of. Alright, to start off, motor is, this is the second motor that's been in it. The first one started knocking. But this one specifically is out of a 92 Suburban 2500, so it's a TBI motor. And the reason being for that is that the 86 and up TBI motors have a one-piece rear main seal instead of the old school two-piece one, which is what it needs to bolt up to the T56. You can do it with a first-gen small block with a two-piece rear main, but you have to get like a $400 adapter flywheel, and I wasn't trying to do that, so. And then the transmission, I ended up getting a whole entire LT1 T56 Camaro. So 4th gen LT1 car for a super good deal. And just pulled the trans out of that. So I got the trans, the flywheel, the clutch, the starter, everything pretty much. It was worked out the slave. That worked out super good. And for the adapter for the slave, I tried to get one of the Russell fittings. And there's a chain of that and some AND adapters down there that make it work to the stock master. So there's that, and then let's see, we'll start carburetor. Ran a Metal Rock 650 that was sitting in a barn in North San Juan. Shout out to my buddy Evan for that. Just gave it to me and it worked. He told me there's something wrong with it, but it runs pretty good for what it is. Also, another slight issue is that because these are TBI heads, the 4 middle bolts are vertical instead of like diagonal, so you can't run the 4 middle bolts, so they're literally just sealed with RTV. So it probably has a nasty vacuum leak, and that's probably why it blows by some oil, but it works for now. I'm planning on building a motor for it anyways. So this was just to kind of mock it up and get it all running. So I'll throw it on the rack and show a little bit more about the mounts and all that stuff, but let's see. Radiator is a S10 V8 swap radiator off eBay. Water pump is an electric water pump. It was supposed to be for clearance purposes, but I think a short regular standard mechanical water pump would work just fine, but I'll probably find that out when I build the next motor. eBay alternator bracket, regular alternator, eBay headers, just like some mid-tube deals. I kind of just ordered headers off eBay until I found some that fit, but I'll get some more light on it here in a second. It actually fits really well. The headers, there's lots of room for everything, so it worked out pretty good. More room in here than you would think. And then eBay distributor, which as you may have seen in the last video, sometimes you gotta bang on it to make the coil engage, but you know, just some hoopty stuff. One thing I like about this build is the heater core lines are actually hooked up, so it does have some heat. Honestly, it gets a little hot sometimes in the summer, especially if you're sitting. There's only room for like one little 8-inch fan right now. So as long as you keep it moving, it's fine, but if you let it sit, it'll get pretty hot. But I mean, it's a cast head motor. I've had it to like 260 and it's fine. It doesn't complain too much, but so interior wise, I threw some 350Z seats in it. Shout out RX-7 Mike for hookup on those. It's got a cool racy little steering wheel, some switches, water pump, cages, fans, all that good stuff. Shift boot is from actually the S10 my brother LS swapped. That's the shift boot out of that, so that was kind of convenient. Those had to make a pretty big hole, so that worked out good for that. Got pillar gauges because of course you can't build a racy car without pillar gauges, but only like 2 of them work because I put in another water temp gauge because that one sucked. But that's about it for the interior. The weird part about this truck is the rear end. Actually, we'll see when you throw it on the rack. But the rear end is stock and it has not broken yet, and that blows my mind. But we got some small tires on it, so it doesn't have much traction. But all stock suspension car. We'll throw it on the rack here in a sec. Get a look underneath it. It's a bucket, but it's cool and it's unique, and I haven't seen another one. If anyone has, I'd love to hear about it and check it out and see it. Because, yeah, it'd be cool to know if another one exists, and this isn't the only one, so. Alright, so we'll start off front to back here. Factory oil pan works. It's close. That's cross member is actually flipped upside down and notched right there. So normally that's one solid piece. But notch that right there. Also, if you use the TBI motor, you got to get the oil filter adapter to go to the vertical oil filter instead of the horizontal one. So still running a mechanical fuel pump, and to run the electric water pump, you also have to get a smaller balancer, the 6 1/4, I think it is. But all right, so here we go. For motor mounts, you can see there's the factory pedestals right there, but they have tabs welded on either side. That little piece right there, about probably 1.5 inches on each side. And then these are S10 V8 swap motor mounts for a small block Chevy. So a lot of the conversion parts on this are S10 swap parts because they don't make anything for this, but these work. I mean, they only have 2 bolts in them out of 3. It's like a triangular thing, but it works. The motor seems pretty solid in there. Once again, the headers are not S10 headers. Those are just eBay random headers that fit finally. Let's see, t56, like I said, and you can see on there that's Borg Warner t56, not Tremec. All the LS stuff comes with the Tremec, and also, which means it has an external slave cylinder. There's my gang of fittings to make that work. But yeah, honestly, I've heard better things about the Borg Warners. I feel like the synchros last longer because the Tremors are kind of junk. Oh, nice shirt hanging there. That was my old shift boot. That's nice. But exhaust, 2.5 inch, all the way out, true duals, straight. Would have liked to probably go through my exhaust guy. It's kind of what he had, and that's kind of what happened. It's kind of quiet, but that's also probably because it's like an 8-to-1 compression motor. But can't complain. Drive shaft, B&W driveline, custom made. Suspension's all stock. It actually used to be lowered 2 inches in the rear on blocks, but as you can see right there, that was rubbing on the cross member there. So I had to raise it back up. I'd like to lower it again. Had to notch that cross member for the bed, but it looks kind of shitty, all lifted and raked out in the rear. But like I said, this is stock rear end. It's actually a replacement because I broke the old one with a 4-cylinder. But since the V8 has been in, that thing has been fine. It is welded, of course, like everything. It's on like a 195, so it has no traction, doesn't hook up in the rain to like 5th gear. But yep, all stock. I've been super impressed. I have an Explorer with an 8.8 that's kind of ready. That's the replacement for that. But I mean, it's really honestly been pretty stout so far. So trans cross member, it's literally just a piece of unistrut right there that is welded onto that factory cross member with some gussets on it. And that's all for the trans mount. It's been pretty good so far. No speed sensor hooked up, nothing fancy like that. This thing's kind of ratchet. It's just a budget build, but it works. It's actually pretty reliable. The only thing not reliable is the starter is kind of shitty, and cylinder likes to click a lot sometimes. But other than that, it's been pretty good to me so far. Alright, so future plans for the truck. Like I said, I actually threw this motor in because I blew the other one up, and I was already signed up for a car show, so I had to put a motor in it real quick just so I could enter that. But there's the old blown up motor. This is actually I think it's like a Black Widow motor out of a Calabria boat, but it's a small block Chevy. It's a 1-piece rear main, and they're like 330 horse in the factory compared to like the 200. So it's running Vortec cast heads, and I got this from a buddy, and it was down 1 cylinder, but it's got a lot of good parts, and if it'll actually make that power, I might end up just rebuilding it, maybe throw a cam in it, I don't know exactly, but it's probably gonna be some Frankenstein motor. But you know, once it's 350, 400 horses, it'll be a lot more fun, because it's probably like 180, 200 right now, which is fun in a 2,500 pound truck, but it needs a little more juice. So that's kind of a ways off. Still to finish the S14 before I build a motor probably, but this thing runs and drives for now, and it's dailyable, so. Alright guys, that's going to be about it for this video. If you have any questions about part numbers, maybe anything I missed, just let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, anything's appreciated. Any kind of feedback. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching.